Of the earth on countless perilous paths, and held in my heart so many tears of stone. I've long felt the mysterious conviction that you are there, though I don't know where, as though you and I have always been one. And then last night, alone on the old path, strewn with autumn leaves, the full moon appeared.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to How Mindfulness Unlocks Radical Climate Action, a taster for the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course. That video that you just saw was part of the course. One of the videos and the music was composed by Brother Pháp Hữu. The song you heard before that is by the Plum Village Band. So we're starting off with all sorts of music, video, arts from the Plum Village monastics and the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course. My name is Adam, and I am part of the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet team. I'm going to be co-hosting this event. I'll tell you more about how this hour is going to be structured in just a moment. But to begin, I would love to welcome Brother Pháp Hữu to invite 3 sounds of bell. Brother, over to you.
Hello, dear friends. In our tradition, the sound of the bell is an invitation for us to come back to our breathing. Our awareness is our mindfulness energy to be attentive and to feel the breath. So I will invite 3 sound of the bell, and I invite you to be connected to your in-breath and your out-breath. You don't have to force your breathing. Just be there for it and just feel and just acknowledge. We can say this is in-breath, this is out-breath. So let us enjoy breathing deeply together along with the sound of the bell. Thank you, everyone, for breathing together. I bring it back to you, Adam.
Thank you so much, brother. So once again, welcome everybody. We're so happy that you're here. 734 of us, 33 of us on Zoom, and many more joining on YouTube, and many more who will be watching this recording. So speaking of which, wanted to say up front that this meeting is being recorded and is being streamed, as I just mentioned, on YouTube. We are going to turn off the chat now, and we're doing that so that we can all keep our collective focus on the event itself. And as we kick things off here, because this is a taster event for the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course, I just wanted to say one thing up front, and we'll talk more about the course as we go through, about what this course entails, because you will be hearing you'll be hearing through this event from a couple of our teachers who are featured in the course. The Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course is full of teachings from our teachers here and many others. There are practices that you will be invited to apply to your own life and your climate activism and whatever work you're involved in. And as you can see here, there's also a huge community element to the course. So we'll be talking a lot about this as we go as we continue to go on. But for now, I would love to introduce the first three speakers that we have for the event today. You are probably all aware, but then in some ways they need no introduction, but I will go ahead and introduce them anyhow. So today as speakers, we have Christiana Figueres. Christiana is the architect of the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. She is a leader in the climate world, known for her stubborn optimism, and she is joining us from Costa Rica today. And from Plum Village, France, we are joined by Brother Pháp Hữu, who you saw a moment ago, inviting the bell. Brother Pháp Hữu is the abbot of Upper Hamlet at Plum Village. You may recognize his voice from the Way Out is In podcast. And he is committed to finding new ways to share the Dharma, including in rap form. And some of you may already be aware of this, and some of you will find out more as we go along. And we have also with us Sister True Dedication, who is the editor of the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet book. She is the magician behind the course. She loves coffee and Mother Earth equally. So happy to have you all here. I'm going to hand it over to Sister True Dedication for more.
Thank you so much, Adam. And it's so lovely to be here with Christiana, our dear friend on the path, and with all of you. It was so amazing. As we used to do when we did our online retreats during the pandemic, we loved to scroll through all the screens, and we saw a lot of familiar faces and names. So it's just lovely to be spending time together, even online, virtually. And we wanted to take time to share about why we're so passionate about this course. And as many of you may know, our teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, has always had such an engaged Buddhism that has never just been Buddhism for some kind of private, personal enlightenment, but it's always been mindfulness and Buddhism and the Buddhist teachings that inform mindfulness for nothing less than collective awakening. And in the final years of our teacher's kind of teaching career, leading up to his stroke, he focused so much of his teachings on the kinds of Dharma, so deep wisdom from the Buddhist tradition that can really help us change our direction of relating to our planet and relating to the injustice there in society. And he said that if we can't change our way of seeing, our way of looking, our way of thinking, we won't be able to change the direction of our society and civilization. If we can't change our way of seeing, looking and thinking, we can't kind of shift this unmovable beast that is our sort of unjust, exploitative, extractive, violent society. So this course, the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course that we developed with Christiana, is how would we do that? If you set aside 7 weeks of your life, how could we help you, walk you on the journey that we've done to transform our way of seeing and thinking and being in the world? And many of you may know our teacher coined this word, interbeing, this sense that everything is profoundly interconnected. And so that is the sort of thread. We take you on this really deep journey of understanding ourselves, our relationships, the world around us, the natural world, the more than human world, but also our ancestors and our descendants, which is a particular characteristic of our kind of deep looking in the Plum Village tradition that our teacher founded. And we say, what would it take to change our way of seeing our body, change our way of seeing our pain, change our way of being with that pain? And so that is the challenge we set ourselves in creating this course, because this wisdom is there. It's just extraordinary in our lifetimes, this deep ancient wisdom that has come from many, many generations of teachers, more than 2,500 years. And have we really applied it yet to this crisis? Have we applied it yet into our hearts? And to see that we unlock so much energy in ourselves when, our eyes are bright and we have a fresh look on things. So this new way of seeing is helping us handle the emotions we feel every day when we open the news. It's handling the emotions we feel in the face of violence, in the face of injustice. So that is one way that this practice is helping us. And second, it helps us see our position in that with so much more breadth and openness. And that's where we kind of find our agency. And one of the key aspects of this course is that it's interactive. We get to be on a journey together. So typically each cohort has between 500 and 800 people, and we go on this journey together and we build community. And community and collaboration is also something that is kind of at a human species level critical to our ability to be able to protect our earth and to bring justice to one another, to be able to give each other a chance for life. And I wonder if Christiana, you'd like to speak a little bit also to this community point, and how in particular, even in the kind of professional climate space sphere realm, this sense of community is so important.
Yes, thank you, Sister True. So maybe just very quickly a recount of how I discovered Thai, because I think all of us come to Plum Village tradition, to Plum Village wisdom, perhaps because of suffering. It is one thing that we all share as human beings. And I've often thought the more suffering, the more learning and the more growth. And so it was for me. Several years before the Paris Agreement, I had a personal trauma that I was trying to survive. And I came into Thai's teachings, which was literally a lifesaver for me. But I also very quickly realized that the practices and the understandings, the skills, the mindset that I was learning to deal with my own personal pain and be able to transform that, that those were actually helping me incredibly to be able to do my day work, not just my night work, which is the time that I was working on myself, but also during the day, in which I was responsible for bringing these almost 200 governments together around one legally binding text. And that was 200 governments and thousands of stakeholders, a very complex process. And what I noticed slowly, but very, very surely, is that the openness of heart that I was developing for myself, for my survival, for my healing process, was the same openness of heart that was being so helpful for me to be able to listen much more deeply and look much more deeply at all of these stakeholders that were having a very hard time listening to each other and coming to any agreement with each other. And so I very quickly decided, right, I have to expand the boundary of my own personal practice and be able to practice what Thai teaches us is engaged Buddhism. So not to just sit on the cushion and meditate, but actually take it into our daily life. And I am so incredibly grateful for that. Now, let's fast forward today. Where are we? Almost 10 years after the Paris Agreement. Well, my friends, I actually witness so much pain, so much suffering, so much overwhelm, so much anger among so many members of the climate and biodiversity protection community for very understandable reasons, because the science continues to confirm that things are only getting worse, and because we are not doing the action that we ought to be doing. And we're just seeing more and more, Helene hurricane being the latest proof of this. We are just painfully witnessing and feeling the negative consequences of action that is not at the level that we should. So not surprising that so many of us in these communities are frustrated, angry about the insufficiency of action, or in fact, even into what I call pre-traumatic syndrome, because we're already living the trauma that science says we will be witnessing if we don't do our job. And so that is why this course, Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet, is so incredibly helpful, because it is a touchstone, a daily touchstone, if you will, at least a weekly touchstone, to really come back to ourselves and be much more mindful about where do we want to get our energies? How do we alchemize, if you will? How do we transform the energies so that we're able to develop our personal resilience and also be understanding of the fact that our personal resilience is what we need in order to strengthen the planetary resilience that we are all dedicated to. And in that vein, we have also, in addition to the online course that we very warmly invite you to, we're also running climate and biodiversity retreats, in-person retreats, not as often as the online course, but also as a very complementary way to continue our growth and our learning. And of course, this all goes back to the fact that Thai taught us about activism, because that is who he was. And I would turn over to Brother Pháp Hữu to share that very deep root of Thai's practice.
Thank you, Christiana. As you may or may not know, our teacher started to find a new way of engagement with the teachings of the Buddha from the mud. And that mud was the mud of the war in Vietnam. And we may know it as the Vietnam War, but in Vietnam, we know it as the American War. And there's a story that I would like to share, because when we hear the news and we see what is happening today, it is very natural for us to touch hopelessness. And meditation and mindfulness is not to spiritual bypass these real emotions and these real feelings that becomes alive in us when we are in touch with the present moment. And the present moment on the level that even it's not happening at our place, but we can see it, we can understand and see the pain. That interbeing is very natural for us to touch that suffering. And our teacher, during his activism, they would go and help rebuild villages that were being bombed. And the simple act of mindfulness of love was to be put into action, and an action of just showing up to say that I am here for you was very important in that moment. But there was a very particular village that kept being bombed again and again and again, because there was this view and there was this perception that in this village, a lot of the guerrilla soldiers, guerrilla warfare soldier commanders were present. And so therefore, it kept being destroyed. And when our teacher, by the third time, heard the news that the village was being destroyed, he told his young activists, let's go and rebuild it one more time. And in that moment, one of his students, a young activist, looked at our teacher and said, Thai means teacher in Vietnamese. Thai, is it worth it when we know it's gonna be bombed again? And Thai shared that when he heard that question, in himself, he also touched despair, and he touched a pain that knowing that suffering will come no matter even if we rebuild it again. And he said in that moment, what he had to do was he had to come back to his body to feel and be present for all the emotions that were there, whether it is hopelessness, whether it is fear, and just to be present and acknowledge. And then in that moment, by embracing that pain, something also becomes very alive when you're mindful, that you have this compassion in you that is awakened. And for him, he looked at his student and he said, yes, because our action is the action of hope and love. When we show up, and even if it's just an act of bringing rice, bringing water, our way of showing, our way of action, this is engaged mindfulness. This is engaged love. This is engaged compassion. It is to show up that as humanity, we will not give up in the wisdom that we have received from our genetic ancestors, our ancestors, the wisdom from our culture also, of knowing that as humanity, we can always show up and to express that we are here, we care, and we can together rebuild again and again and again. So with this spirit of not giving up and understanding that our way of coming back to our body, taking care of oneself, being reminded that we have the capacity to show up for one another, to take care of the emotions inside of us, to also nourish the joy that we can still touch even amidst the suffering, the joy of helping, the joy of sharing poetry, music, and transforming the present moment, the injustice, the suffering through voices, through stories, so that others can see and can wake up like our sister is sharing. So every action is a wake-up call. And so this course is inviting us to come back on a daily basis to re-examine how we're engaging in every moment, in every day, because these action becomes our signature. They become our continuation. And it will be transferred through time and space, this action of body, speech, and mind. So in this course, we always invite all of us to be attentive and to be mindful of how we are engaging in the everyday action of waking up, how we are drinking a cup of tea, as well as how we are showing up for our teams, how we are showing up for our family, how we are showing up for the suffering. And is there another energy we can invite when in the face of despair, suffering? And we will let you discover that in this course. But now I bring it back to Sister True Dedication.
Thank you, brother, and thank you also for speaking to the pain. I think many of us, I think the greatest challenge is that everything feels so overwhelming, and we might also think, oh, I'm not sure I can handle 7 weeks of feeling the pain. But I think, as Christiana said, many of us come to this practice with actually our suffering. We come for healing, and we come to be a bit real with ourselves, because the fact is life isn't a bed of roses. The fact is that there's a lot of pain going on. And I think that's a way to live deeply and to live in a real way. And as you were saying, brother, it's extraordinary that even a few minutes, we have guided meditations in the course, we have relaxations, and we kind of accompany you to be safely with your pain. And it's really powerful that some of these exercises are relatively short. It may be 5, 10, or 15 minutes. But that feeling of finally, like going inside the house that's on fire, and finally, or going into that hole inside that might be our fear or our despair or our helplessness, that somehow brings us closer to ourselves and to life. And we find that we're very much not alone. I think there's some part of this course is about not being alone in it, having spiritual companions. Actually, you hear from Christiana every week, which is a fabulous thing. Christiana shares her reflections and practice of applying these kind of insights herself and in her work and in her own spiritual life, but also from a whole variety of different teachers. And then as well as being together on this beautiful online platform where we can share questions, we can chat, we can interact, and we even have sharing groups as well. And I think that's also a kind of, it just really, that's what our teacher deeply wished for the world, that our human heritage of wisdom could be available to more people, and that we can dig deep into what our ancestors knew and keep it alive and keep it evolving. And I think for us, I think the greatest outcome, and we'll be hearing from some alumni shortly who will share about their experience with the course, but I think for us, our deepest intention was to be able to land some of these insights and practices with everyone who follows the course, and that everyone gets that sense of a shift in perspective, a shift in outlook, a shift in the possible. And just like that story of the time of war in the village that was bombed and bombed and bombed, it seems like there's no way out. And this course is offering us a very real path of this is what strength would look like. This is what courage would look like. This is what compassion would look like. And that's a way of taking care of the human dimension of the kind of polycrisis. Can we, and can our children and grandchildren, can the next few generations have a chance to be strong, to be fearless, to be grounded in the face of whatever uncertainty they'll be going through?
Yes, and on this course, there will be many teachers involved in the teaching, myself as well as Sister True Dedication. And through the 7-week journey, we will have 5 live events that we will be joining with all of you from Plum Village, France, to guide you through sessions of communication workshops and so on. So please please have courage to join this course and to build the spiritual dimension, because our teacher speaks on, we have a physical body, but we also have a spiritual body that is alive in each and every one of us. And we don't have to be Buddhist to join this course. The wisdom is from the time of the Buddha, but also the wisdom that we have listened through so many teachers. And Christiana Figueres is one of the teachers, as well as many teachers who have come through Plum Village to share with us, many of the young activists. And we have taken their gems and to thread them through this journey so that we can see new ways of being, new way of holding, new way of listening. And this course is to build not just on an individual basis, but on a community basis also. And this is something that our teacher's legacy, he wanted to really lay this foundation, the importance of building communities from generation to generation. He always said that in our times, we have the mindset of individualism. We only think about ourselves. And for our society to have a healthier way forward, we need to have a new way of seeing, a new way of being, a new way of thinking, and as well as a way to be together in harmony as one of the elements of the universe, humans, and to find ways of understanding true love, building compassion within ourselves to express out, having the ability and the responsibility to have joy in our daily life, to have kindness to oneself as well as kindness to others, and to slowly continue to deepen our non-discrimination within us and our interbeing nature, not just to one another, but to the earth, to the cosmos, to the environment. So now I would like to hand it over to Adam so that Adam can introduce our three friends.
Thank you so much, brother. I wonder, because we've just heard quite a lot, I wonder whether we might just hear a sound of the bell before we move on.
Yes, let us come back to our breathing. Let us listen to our breath. Our breath is always there. And in this moment, let us bring our attention to the sensation of the in-breath and the sensation of the out-breath. And we don't have to force our breathing. Our breathing is naturally present. Let us just be mindful and feel the in-breath and feel the out-breath.
Thank you, brother. So we are very excited, very happy to also be joined by three alumni who have been through the Zen and the Art of Saving the Planet course and have joined us today to share a little bit more about their experience and their work. So in a moment, we're going to invite them to join a panel here, and we'll have the opportunity to ask a couple of questions. I'd like to first introduce our three alumni. So we have with us Jono Okiulu. Jono is an Afro-Indigenous and Afro-diasporic artist, poet, gardener, organizer, and aspiring ancestor. Welcome, Jono. We also have with us Ana Lucia Moya, who is an international consultant who is passionate about advancing climate transparency as a tool for data-driven decision-making, climate justice, and sustainable development. And we also have with us, and welcome, Ana Lucia. We also have with us Mitzi Jonelle Tan, who is a Filipina anti-imperialist climate justice activist guided by love, joy, and collective world building. So check out the chat box. We'll post more. We'll post links to their work so you can learn more about their work. But for now, I'd love to turn it over to you. And we have our panelists up, and I'm handing it, I believe, over to Sister True Dedication. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Adam. And thank you, dear beloved alumni. It's so lovely to have you with us and to have journeyed along with the three of you, either virtually and also in person when it's been possible. And I have a question for Lou, which is, maybe, I don't know why you might originally have joined the course and what kind of, skills or insights you thought you might get, but actually what ended up happening for you with the course? Like, what did that journey become for you? And was it what you expected? What kind of transformation might have happened?
Ooh, thank you for the question. Honestly, I think I didn't know what to expect when the opportunity of joining to the course got into my email. I had the opportunity to join the pilot phase of the SAPS course. And just to give everyone a brief context of what was happening to my life at that moment, I was experiencing like a very deep burnout. I was in a job that I recently left a job that I loved at the beginning, and at the end, it waited like 3,000 gorillas. I knew I had to quit the job because it was, waiting too much, but I just couldn't. And then I had cancer. So my body basically said, no, you need to stop. You really need to stop. So I stopped, not because of my choice, but because life just made me stop. And in the midst of that process, the email for the pilot course appeared into my my inbox. And I basically had time for it. I think if it had happened a couple of months ago, I just would have said, no. I mean, I have to respond to so many emails. Life is so quickly. But I had time. And I think it has been one of the most transformational things I ever done in my life. I took the course when I was in my process of doing chemotherapy. And it gave me a framework, it gave me tools to hold my pain, because in my work and in my life in general, I think I was just only too focused on holding everyone else's pain that I thought mine had not space. I didn't give a space for my own pain. And it started one of the most beautiful transformational processes I have ever lived through. And yeah, I think I'm still starting to grasp what is actually mean. But I can definitely say that it nudged my life into a more present life with more tools to be connected, with more tools to be aware of the suffering, everyone else's, but also mine. And I also found a beautiful community that I feel part of now, and that I think is going to change the way I experience and the way I approach to climate work. So yes.
Wow, thank you so much, Lou, for sharing your story. And now I'd like to invite Mitzi and have a question. You've had the experience of joining both the online retreat as well as an in-person retreat with us to go deep into the insights and the way of bringing a spiritual dimension into our daily life. So how has the course touched you, and how has it shifted your way of being and seeing? And also, if you can share on how it was to be with an international community of, I'm sure, many people that you've never met, but now probably has become part of your own community.
Thank you, Lou, for your sharing, and thank you for the question, Brother Pháp Hữu. In a way, also sharing a little bit how I found the course, and how I got to the retreat space and everything. I got the email, I got the invitation from Zast team, and I went to the in-person retreat first, and then there they talked about the online course. And both in the in-person retreat and the online course, something that really like stood out to me and resonated with me was how I didn't have to be alone. Sister True Dedication already said it earlier, where both the knowledge that there is a deep and very old and ancient practice that has existed far beyond my age, my parents, you know, like so far back that I can't even grasp how old it is. And then knowing that that small parts of it actually like showed up within me without me engaging with Buddhism before. And so when I came into the course and came into the in-person retreat, I was like, wow, this is familiar, but now I don't have to find it alone. And both literally in the ancientry of it, but also now there's a community that I get to practice it with. And that really changed the way that I saw things. I also started to understand more why it's called a practice and that it needs to be done regularly and not just when you're stressed and it's like, oh, I'm stressed, I'll meditate, and it's harder. But it really just changed the way that I approach my work, the way that I hold my pain and my joy simultaneously. And it's so special that international community. I just came from a very hectic New York Climate Week, and I would see little people, some people with like the lotus pins walking around. It's like, oh, ah. And you know, you kind of just know, and you'll hear in like some panels where I would not expect it at all. Someone will just randomly say, "Oh, no mud, no lotus," and it's like, oh, that's I know where that's coming from. I know who that, you know, and then it's just like so special. It's almost like a little gift and a little surprise every time it pops up. It's like, oh, a community member, oh, someone who understands. And you really I met Jono not knowing that we both took the course, and the way that they were speaking, I was like, sounds familiar. And it's just really a wonderful thing seeing how it's changed the way the climate movement has moved. And I'm sure then that the people who then hear them, even if they haven't taken the course or haven't engaged directly, also get moved and touched. And I've started recommending the course many times, and I've finished with it. But you can come back to it for up to a year, I think. And I've been coming back to it, especially in times when I can't sleep, and I feel the urge to like be on my phone and to have some kind of stimulation. And I find that it's such a good way of like meeting that urge or need to have a screen in front of you that sometimes you can't get rid of. But then it calms you down and it slows you down. And it's really just genuinely changed like my life and the way that I take care of myself and be and exist in community. So thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me permission to unmute myself. Jono, so it's time for me to bring you into this conversation. I saw you doing lots of smiling and lots of nodding as Lou and Mitzi were speaking and sharing. So I just wanted to invite you to put words to those smiles and those nods, because it would be wonderful to hear from you also, both personally. How have you found that the course has benefited you on a personal level? You with your friends, you with your family, you with your colleagues, but also very interested in knowing, how is it impacting who you are as an activist? Because ultimately, in addition to being much more grounded within ourselves, we're all joined in this collective effort of wanting to have a better and deeper impact on the world. So could you speak to both of those things? Not that they're unlinked at all, but just wanted to put it out for you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Christiana. And yes, there was so much resonance just in what folks are sharing today. So it feels like, again, another way to tap into this community of teachers and feel nourished and motivated to continue this work. But yeah, so start with how I have felt transformed on a personal level. I feel that a lot of us have said and experienced it, the sense of anxiety and lack of agency around where our world is headed, and wanting to dive into a work and a practice that will get us in a better direction where we have a more balanced world. It's a it's a very, and I feel it as I'm saying it, it's a very stressful sort of balance to try to hold and to show up in a way where you can also be joyful and also be calm and restful and steady in the face of so much calamity, in the face of so much tragedy. Um, what I feel like this course has offered me is a practice and community to be able to find that groundedness, and a practice and community to be able to find an awareness that connects me to not only my ancestors, my bloodline ancestors, as Brother Pháp Hữu you mentioned, but also to a deeper community of teaching, as you mentioned, Mitzi, like generations of people who have come together and found ways to find steadiness and find good action in the face of such chaos and confusion. And also to the natural world. I felt the course offered me so many ways to look around me and say, there's a tree standing by raging water and see how it's not moved. And maybe I can also be like that tree and stand by that water, stand in the face of this sense of urgency and sense of rush, and also be steady in who I am and who I show up with. And so I feel like the course has offered me just like practices to be able to feel that awareness. I've been offered the practice of walking meditation through the Zen and the Art course, and being able to just take a moment to breathe and pause and tap into that deeper knowing and that deeper sense of connectivity. And it's, especially as an activist, it's so important to not feel alone. And it's so important to be able to show up in a room where you might look alone. It might look like you're the only one who's going to say the thing that needs to be said in that room. But if I'm able to take that moment to breathe and to think about what dialogue needs to happen in the space, and be able to tap into the wisdom of the trees and the wisdom of the flowers and the wisdom of the squirrels, and say, hey, I'm coming into this room and I might feel alone, but I'm not alone, and be able to offer again that purposeful knowing, and from a place of steadiness, I think has just been such a gift. And I think especially coming from a background where I felt like there's not a lot of community to tap into. What the course offered me, especially, is a chance to see just the broader global community of people that are trying to find their way and trying to find this way together. And so I really appreciate that this diverse and global and engaged community of activists and teachers and students and healers, it was offered available to me through scholarship. So I wanted to also plug that the course is available, especially for folks who might feel that sense of marginalization, who might feel pushed out. The SAS team has offered you a place to be welcomed in. And so if you're a young person, if you're a person from the global South, global majority, or Black and Indigenous, there's also this offering, this special offering, to be able to tap into the course. And so I'm really grateful to have benefited from that, and to really feel this closeness to myself and to other people. So thank you for the question, and thank you again for this community. And it's so nice to really be pulled back in this beautiful way.
Thank you, Jono.
Wow. Thank you all. If we were all in person, I'm sure we'd be getting a lot of Plum Village applause signs like this right now, and you can probably see them on the Zoom screen. So Jono, Mitzi, Lou, thank you so, so much. You know, earlier in our session here, one of our friends who's participating sent me a question, basically like, can you really build community online? Is that really possible? And as I was listening to some of your shares right now, what struck me is, yes, there are specific ways that we have built into the course that do attempt to and offer ways of building community, such as the sharing groups and a variety of other things. And there's something else that happens that maybe is just worth naming, which is when you go through an experience with people and you have a common set of practices, and you know that each other are practicing, and there are people who've been on these in-person retreats that Christiana and Mitzi talked about. It starts to build a sense of, you know, when you show up at places where there are others who have been through the same experience, whether you notice that they have a lotus pin or you just hear the way that they're talking, there's this other kind of invisible mycelium, if you will, as Christiana has been talking about, that starts to form. So yes, there are direct ways that we work on building community in the course. And then there are also these other indirect ways where as more people go through the course, and we hope you will join us in doing so, and as more people go through the retreats, you start to have a common language and a common set of practices and maybe a common way of orienting to this work. So thank you to the alumni. I just wanted to underscore that point that I heard there. So with that, we've been talking a lot about the course. We want to give you a little moment of practice to experience some of what's offered in the course. So I want to hand it over to Brother Pháp Hữu, who's going to lead us in a brief guided meditation. We're just working on unmuting.
So dear friends, I invite us to enjoy a moment of sitting meditation together, and I'll be offering a guide. So first of all, let us become aware of our posture and our body, whether we are sitting on a chair, on a bench, on a sofa, on the cushion. Allow us to be upright but not rigid. And we can pay attention to our shoulders. If there's any tension there, let us just release that tension. Let us just surrender, drop the burden that we have been holding on our shoulders. And then we can become aware of our facial expression in this moment. And I invite us to offer a gentle smile, the smile to ourselves, the smile to being alive, the smile that gives us this opportunity to connect to the earth, a smile that allows us to connect to a community that is breathing together with us in this moment. And as we breathe in, we become mindful that this is an in-breath. As we breathe out, we are mindful this is an out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. As we breathe in, we are aware of our whole body present. As we breathe out, we release any of the tension that is in our body, offering it kindness, offering attention. In, aware of body, out, releasing the tensions. Breathing in, aware that we are being embraced, held by Mother Earth. Breathing out, I feel grounded. I feel oneness with the air, with the trees, the cloud, the sun, the flowers, the river, the ocean. Breathing out, connected. Breathing mindfully I have the understanding that the earth, the trees, the ocean is not outside of me, but is in me, a part of me, supporting me. Breathing in, I feel I am alive in the present moment. Breathing out, this is a wonderful moment. In, grounded in the present moment. Out, this is a wonderful moment. Breathing in, I am grateful to be breathing with a community. Breathing out, I smile. In, breathing with community. Out, I smile. Thank you, dear friends, for practicing together with us.
Thank you, brother, for offering that practice. So as we come to the final few minutes of our event here, we hope you've gotten the feeling that we would really love for you to join us on this journey. And we hope that you've gotten a sense of a little bit of what this course and this 7-week journey is about. Before I hand it over to Sister True Dedication, as a thank you for joining us today and as an encouragement to join the 7-week journey, we're offering those of you who are here today a 20% discount on the standard enrollment rate for the course. So as you'll see on the screen here, the discount code is listed. It's discount 20. You may want to take a picture of this, write it down. You can use the QR code, which I don't think will automatically apply the discount. So just make sure that you've written this down, taken a screenshot, and this code will be good for the next 48 hours. So if you haven't yet joined the course, feel free to sign up using this discount code. If you have, and perhaps you're not planning on enrolling again, you might want to share this code with a friend who you think might be interested in joining us on the journey. So we'll leave this up for just another moment. And again, you can use the QR code, scan with your camera. It'll take you right to the registration page. And the discount code is here on the screen, discount 20. And in our final couple of minutes here, I would love to hand it back to Sister True Dedication for a couple of closing words.
Thank you so much, Adam, and thank you to everyone for joining us. We're going to go back to gallery view here to see all of your lovely faces, and for us also to have a chance to feel connected to all of you. It's always so wonderful to have these moments of, I guess, community, practice, togetherness, dreaming, and also listening and learning. And our special thanks to our 3 alumni who spoke with us today. It's just so powerful to hear your testimony. Thank you for making the time and sharing so naturally from your hearts. And thank you, of course, to Christiana for being here as such a torch of the Dharma, of the teachings in your life and in the world, and inspiring so many of us, including so many monastics who love to learn from you as well. And thank you to the amazing ZASP team. So this course was created by more than 25 people who offered time, volunteering. The artists, you saw a little glimpse of some of the incredible artwork that was offered by a practitioner to kind of illustrate the course. So many talented people, from the music and the production. And so it was a whole community. And I think all of us made this course with a lot of love, which is why I guess you kind of pick up this very wholehearted vibe, is because we touch the insights of these teachings and we want to make it as delicious as possible and as kind of beneficial and meaningful for anyone who would like to join us. And so thank you, Adam, for hosting today. We've also had Flo here, we have Sophie, we have Jouet, we have so many people in our team. Sometimes you'll be in email contact with them, but we are a team of practitioners offering from our heart and inviting, I guess we're putting out a bat signal. We're putting up a signal to the sky saying, do you have these concerns? Would you like to learn these kind of things with us? And come and journey with us, and we will share our hearts, share our path, share our journey, share our community. And we put that effort to make the course, and then it's just so lovely. I think already now more than 4,000 people have joined the course and done it. So we already feel like we're a kind of growing river. We're a big community, and you're very welcome to join us and to see how far this river can go towards the ocean. Thank you so much. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And I believe the team has a last little request for anyone who might have any more time. But for now, thank you so much from all of us.
Thank you so much, sister. Yes, indeed. So for anyone who needs to drop off now, this is the official closing of the event. And thank you so much for being here. If you happen to have another 10 or 15 minutes, we have a couple of questions that we would love to ask of you so we can learn a little bit more about why you're here. So we're going to stay on for another 10 or 15 minutes, and we have just a couple of polling questions. We'll try and do this in as interactive a way as possible. And for those of you who are on YouTube, we will you'll be able to participate in the poll even if you are not here on Zoom. So I'll take a moment and just thank you all for being here. We'll pause for a moment and then we will begin the poll. Okay, so we will actually pause for just a moment, and that was about a moment. So let me bring up the poll here, and we can jump right into it. So one of the things that we were wondering is, for those of you who are here, let me launch the poll. Is it visible? Can you see the questions on the screen? Thumbs up. So the first question is, we're curious how many of you have already taken the ZASP course? How many of you are signed up for the upcoming cohort? And how many of you might still be thinking about it? And I guess you can actually answer all of these questions at once. So let me read them out loud. So that was the first question. We'll give you a moment to fill that in, but I'll continue to read. So the second question is, if you're still thinking about joining, what would encourage you to join? We're curious whether enrollment costs, having lower enrollment costs, perhaps having a lower weekly time commitment, if you would love to have access to course material, to have a little bit more of a sense of what it feels and looks like to be in the course, or you may say that everything's great, it's just not the right moment. So I heard from a friend who said they're not sure whether they can join because of other commitments in the fall. So let's see. And brother and sister, if you want to offer any live running commentary here, feel free to unmute. I'll ask you to unmute as well, just in case.
We were enjoying answering the questions ourselves, so that already brought us a lot of joy. So. But it is super helpful. And actually the ZASP course has been our kind of flagship course, and we are in the process of developing some others. So please be generous in any suggestions that we can add into our creative pot as we explore how we can support your learning, support your practice, support your insights, your growth, and so on.
So I'm a little surprised in a pleasant way to see that the answer to the first question, there are 2/3 of folks here are still thinking about it. So I'm so curious. It looks like the second question may provide us a little insight into what's going on for folks who are still thinking about it. I would love to just be able to sit in a room with all of you and talk about this, but we've got these poll questions. It looks like part of it has to do with enrollment costs. So we will say that there are scholarships available. You can see that on the registration page. Of course, we've tried to make it more accessible today for those of you who have joined with the discount code. I am happy to see that some folks would enjoy access to some course material. That's something that we're working on. We're not sure whether we're going to be able to make that happen before the launch of this course. But hopefully you've gotten a little bit of a flavor for the quality of, as you saw the video at the beginning, with some of the beautiful graphics and the music. One of the things we hear from folks consistently in this is that the course feels, the platform feels very beautiful, the music, the artwork. So there's a lot, hopefully you got a little bit of a flavor for that today. I'm curious if anyone else on the ZASP team or brother and sister, anything else that you're noticing. This poll is going much quicker than I expected it to go. I thought we were going to go one question at a time.
We're receiving some wonderful questions in the chat box, Adam. So just to let everyone know that we have now opened the chat box. We wanted to keep it closed during the event so that we could focus on the wonderful sharings from our speakers and alumni. But now we've opened the chat box, there's lots of wonderful questions and comments going in. So I think it would be really wonderful if you wanted to pick out a few of those in relation to reflecting on the poll, and I'm happy to support in that. I'll try and respond to as many as possible in the Zoom chat box.
Yeah, sure. I'll start, and then feel free others to jump in. So I guess we didn't emphasize it quite as clearly because I've seen the question a couple of times. So are the materials available after the course? Just to say, the course materials are available for 1 year after, I believe it's after the start of the course. So in case you're wondering, in case you're looking ahead at your schedule and there are things that you anticipate might keep you from completing the course in 7 weeks, you don't need to worry about that so much. There may be things that you might have to watch on recordings. So if you're not able to join a live session, we will share those recordings. But a lot of people that we've spoken to who have been through the course said that they've really benefited from going back to the materials again and again. So watching videos, going back over practices. And so you can certainly join and go at your own pace based off of your schedule. I think we should also note that the next cohort that we'll offer isn't going to be immediately after this. It'll be likely in the fall of next year, or the fall in the Northern Hemisphere, that is. So yes, if you're thinking of joining, and even if you aren't necessarily sure that you can get through all the material in 7 weeks, most people don't anyhow, you could still join and have access to the material for a year. Other questions that team members?
And just to add, Adam, to what you shared, Mitzi, thank you for your comment that there's totally no shame if you take longer than 7 weeks. So we have 5 wonderful live events as part of the course, and also sharing groups. And it's wonderful to be able to participate in those live. And there's a wealth of material that, so I've heard from a few, particularly activists, that can't complete all the material within the 7 weeks. So that's a really wonderful option. And just to say, for those that are still joining us on YouTube, you can feel free to come over to the Zoom if you want to, or we'll take a look at the, we'll be sending all the information as follow-up link to everyone that's registered for this event, so you'll have that available. So I'll pass back to you, Adam.
I am scrolling through the questions. Maybe brother, sister, anything that's standing out to you?
No. It is self-paced except for the live events. I just saw that question. So it means that you can either get a little bit behind or you can get fully up to speed. And we offer a light pathway through each week. So if you only had like an hour and a half or up to 2 hours outside of the live sessions, you could just do a little thread and then you can revisit it later. Actually, we haven't yet switched off any access to the course, even from the people who took it 2 years ago. But we don't want to overpromise your access. So you would have access for as long as we feel that we can run the servers to support it. But we didn't want to overpromise on that. So actually, there's no switch off button at this point, which is good news. And also, I'm just very curious. Yeah, for folks. So next year we plan to offer the course just once in the autumn, in the fall next year. So this will be the only offering in the next 12 months, because it takes us quite some mobilizing to be able to have so much interactivity. That's what really is the kind of community building aspect. But we'd be curious to hear also about the short form courses, and if that's the kind of thing we should be building for some of you, whether you would like shorter things, maybe to be able to do in one weekend or just a couple of weeks.
And just to flag up that I'll put in the chat box a link to the FAQs, where it's so wonderful to hear these beautiful comments and questions, some of which are covered in our FAQs, such as the times of all the live events, whether they'll be recording, where you can find a full schedule. So I'll just pop that link back into the Zoom box chat now. And we will send that in a follow-up email as well, and make sure that it's available for those joining on YouTube as well via the description. But yeah, thank you for all of these rich questions and comments. And I saw one comment fly by saying that this event has really encouraged them to join the course, and that's so heartwarming to hear. So I just wanted to share that with our panel as well, because yeah, really deep appreciation.
Maybe one more question that has come in that I'll maybe put to you, brother and sister, or if any of our alumni are still here and might want to answer it. So someone shared that asked, is the course a good fit if they are struggling with what their role is in the climate movement?
Yes, because because I think you will discover more about how you can be yourself, and how you can be yourself in whatever you choose to show up to do. And what's extraordinary either about our in-person retreats or these online courses is that sometimes the best contribution we can make is not the obvious one. So it might be coming out of like a toxic climate activist NGO. But in order to be a better community builder and a better person for your loved ones and for yourself, and to live more in balance or things like that. So the outcomes are not that obvious, because this is something to do with how we show up in all of these different spaces. Are we showing up in integrity with ourselves and our values? Are we showing up to live each day deeply, however applied that is? And so for some folks, that just releases a whole new energy and aspiration and intention. So I would say exactly, especially if you're not sure, I think it can have that real discerning. I think yourself can become clearer to yourself. Your deepest wishes can become clearer to you, because we do ask some quite penetrating questions as part of the reflection.
So anything else from the ZASP team? Otherwise, this may be a good moment to bring today's event to a close.
And just a little shout out to the alumni who are either staying on here or who have been following. We recognize quite a few faces, and it's just lovely to feel connected again. And thank you for showing up for the course team. We really appreciate it. It's lovely to have you with us.
All right, with that, thank you everyone so much for staying on for a couple minutes. This is so valuable for us. Really appreciate your questions and your participation, and we hope to see many of you in the course when we begin on October 20th. Thank you all.